Have you ever found yourself wondering why some people just, well, effortlessly command respect and seem incredibly likable, while others, despite all their effort, really seem to struggle? Today, we're diving deep into that very question. We've pulled together quite a stack of sources for this deep dive, everything from expert opinions in Inc.com and Forbes to insights from top leadership institutes and, yeah, the latest behavioral science research. Our mission today is pretty clear. Cut through the noise, extract the most impactful insights, and give you a really clear roadmap to becoming someone who is both highly respected and genuinely liked.
The biggest aha moment, I think, from looking at all this material is this. Respect isn't just handed over with a title. It's not automatic. It's actually built, like brick by brick with trust. It's fundamentally about earning appreciation, fostering that trust, not, instilling fear or demanding obedience. And that shift, that understanding, it changes everything. It really impacts not just your career path, but your personal happiness, too.
Right.
The quality of all your relationships.
Okay, right. So before we jump into the how, let's nail down the what. When we talk about respect in this context, what exactly are we defining it as? What does it mean here?
Yeah, good question. Our sources, they consistently define respect as this feeling of deep admiration, maybe deference sometimes, a high regard for yourself, yes, but also for others and even for property. And crucially, it's earned. You earn it through consistent actions. And it's reciprocal. When you genuinely give respect, you're far more likely to get it back. Fundamentally, it boils down to valuing other people and treating them with real consideration and esteem.
Okay, got it. So understanding that definition, why is gaining both respect and likability so absolutely critical,
Right.
especially in a professional setting? What's the actual payoff there?
Well, if we look at the bigger picture, there was this huge global poll, something like 20,000 employees. And it found that respect isn't just a nice to have. It's actually seen as the most crucial leadership behavior. Full stop. Its presence in a workplace, it leads to increased productivity, better profitability. It strengthens the whole corporate culture. It helps attract and keep top talent. It even reduces illness and absenteeism. Plus, you get better team communication, and maybe most importantly, it creates a psychologically safe environment where people feel okay taking risks. Employees who feel respected, they're just more engaged, more creative, more willing to step up.
What really struck me digging through these sources was how often they challenged a really common assumption. We tend to think authority, the position, automatically grants respect, but the research paints a much more nuanced picture and frankly a more empowering one. Just being higher up, having that title, it doesn't automatically mean people respect you. In fact, the sources warn pretty strongly that belittling people, threatening them, mistreating them, that will just quickly erode any respect you might have had.
It completely undermines it. It's absolutely a two-way street. It needs mutual consideration from both sides.
Okay, so we've established what respect is and why it's so vital, but how do we actually build it? Our deep dive seems to reveal that it starts not with, external tricks, but with an inner game, foundational habits that kind of radiate respect from within. So where do we begin?
The absolute foundation is leading by example. It sounds simple, but it's paramount. You just cannot demand a standard from other people that you don't embody yourself. It doesn't work. This means, practically, demonstrating integrity, showing up on time, having a strong work ethic yourself. When people see you holding yourself to high standards, they naturally start to mirror those behaviors. And they grant you a more authentic kind of authority.
Right, it really drives home that idea. You can't ask others to do what you're unwilling to do yourself. Makes perfect sense. But beyond doing the right thing, our sources also talk a lot about knowing the right thing, how critical is competence, and that ongoing commitment to learning. How does that fit into the equation of earning respect?
Yeah, competence is crucial. Our sources show that true credibility isn't just about what you know right now. It's also about your relentless pursuit of knowing more. To maintain that credibility and earn deep respect, you have to be knowledgeable, skilled in your field. But it's not a one-time thing. It involves continuous learning, staying up on industry trends, crucially, admitting when you don't know something, but then committing to finding out, and actively developing those problem-solving skills. By really being at the forefront, nurturing connections, you build this reputation that keeps you, in demand.
So it's not just about hoarding knowledge, but how you handle the gaps in your knowledge and showing that initiative. Okay. And speaking of handling things, what about taking responsibility, especially when things go wrong?
Oh, honesty and accountability are absolutely vital here. The sources are clear. Great leaders take full responsibility for their decisions. And admitting mistakes, that's seen as a sign of strength, definitely not weakness. A sincere apology can go an incredibly long way in repairing damage and rebuilding trust.
Hmm.
And upholding ethical standards consistently in all your dealings, even when it's tough. That builds immense trust over time. This ties directly into something our sources call the power of predictability.
Predictability, interesting.
Yeah, it's more than just being reliable. It's about creating this kind of psychological foundation for others. When your team knows they can count on you, on your routine, your clear communication about plans, your punctualities, you're basically building a stable platform. It reduces their anxiety and fosters a much deeper sense of trust and respect.
Okay, so we've looked at the internal foundations, that inner game of respect. But how do we project that outward? Our sources are pretty crystal clear. It really boils down to how we connect with other people. And at the heart of that connection, of course, is communication.
Absolutely. Clear, confident communication, it just signals competence. And it genuinely inspires trust. Be concise, speak with conviction, and be transparent, especially about challenges or decisions. Don't leave your team guessing in the dark. It's all about building clarity and confidence.
And what about the other side of communication? Listening. The sources really seem to emphasize this as a maybe surprisingly powerful tool.
Yes, definitely. Active listening is presented as absolutely critical, yet it's often, underrated. It involves giving your undivided attention, really being present, showing engagement, like nodding, making eye contact, withholding judgment, and taking the time to reflect back, clarify what you heard, genuinely trying to empathize with the speaker's perspective, and asking those open-ended questions, thoughtful follow-ups. That makes others feel truly valued, and it significantly builds likability too.
Okay, this raises an interesting question then. How exactly does behavioral science tie into being likable? Is there some kind of hidden trick here we should know about?
Well, it's fascinating, actually. There's research showing that asking a question and then following up with two more related questions, it dramatically increases how likable you're perceived to be.
Two follow-up questions.
Yeah.
Really?
And it's not just like anecdotal. It's partly because, let's be honest, people generally love to talk about themselves. Studies actually show it activates brain regions linked with reward and satisfaction. So by genuinely encouraging others to share their experiences, their thoughts, you make them feel important. You make them feel respected. And there's also this thing called the reciprocity of liking. Basically, we tend to like people who we think like us. So being complimentary, validating their experiences, it goes a surprisingly long way.
So being genuinely interested in others is kind of a likability superpower. Got it. What are some other practical, sort of everyday ways to show respect and maybe a bit of charm?
Oh, lots of small things add up. Simple politeness, like really saying thank you and you're welcome, maybe instead of the default, no problem. That makes a difference. Learning and consistently using people's names, that's a huge sign of respect. Showing a little vulnerability, sometimes admitting your own mistakes, even being able to laugh at yourself carefully, never at others.
Yeah.
That makes you much more relatable, more genuine.
Right. Relatable.
And then there's the waiter test. You heard of that?
I think so. How you treat service staff.
Exactly. It's that simple observation. How does someone treat people who seemingly can do nothing for them? The wait staff, the cleaner, security. Our source is highlighted as a kind of litmus test for true character. It reveals if politeness is genuine or just, transactional.
That's a good one.
Body language matters too, of course.
Yeah.
A firm handshake, good eye contact, upright posture, they project confidence. And, where it's appropriate and professional, sometimes a brief, genuine touch like a sincere hand on the shoulder when congratulating someone can surprisingly reinforce connection and authenticity. The key, obviously, is it has to be respectful, context appropriate, never invasive.
Okay. So beyond those general interaction skills, our sources also give us some pretty tactical ways to gain respect, particularly around how we manage our time and our professional presence.
Yes, one really key area is time management and setting healthy boundaries. Habits like encouraging colleagues to schedule chats rather than just dropping in whenever, deliberately scheduling your own deep work time first, making calendar events private by default, even setting default meeting times to, say, 15 or 25 minutes instead of 30 or 60. All these things demonstrate respect for your own time, which in turn encourages others to respect it too. Using separate email addresses, maybe even phone numbers for different types of communication. That can also help you manage availability and ensure people interact with you more on your terms.
That sounds like it could be a game changer for people who feel constantly interrupted. What about speaking up, being proactive with our ideas?
Yeah, you definitely won't get the recognition you deserve unless you speak up and make your voice heard. Our sources kind of suggest you need to, command the conversation sometimes with your ideas. Make your vision clear and present.
Right.
Being proactive also means anticipating needs before they arise, sharing useful info without always being asked, and even, interestingly, dressing maybe slightly more formally than others. It can subtly signal professionalism and indicate you expect to be treated with a bit more gravitas.
And what about when things inevitably go wrong, or when we need to give or receive feedback? That can be tricky territory.
Yeah, it can be. It's important to master the art of what's called disagree and commit.
Disagree and commit.
Meaning, even if you don't fully agree with a plan, once a decision is made, you commit to executing it reliably. No undermining. When mistakes happen, and they will own them completely, and come forward with a clear plan to fix them. Give constructive feedback to help others grow, definitely. But also, you need to actively seek feedback for your own improvement. Show you're open. And knowing when to negotiate for what you need, and equally importantly, when to say a firm no to protect your time or resources, that helps set boundaries and actually earns respect in the long run.
You know, what's really insightful here, I think, is the focus on supporting the people around you. It's not just about your growth, but helping others grow too.
Exactly. Being a teacher, being a mentor, actively helping new colleagues get up to speed, championing your employees' successes publicly.
Yeah.
These are all incredibly powerful ways to gain respect. It shows you're invested in the collective good, not just yourself. It fosters that sense of shared ownership. And additionally, things like avoiding office gossip and complaining. Always trying to figure it out yourself first before immediately asking for help, showing initiative. And learning to manage upward.
Manage upward. How do you mean?
It means actively communicating your needs, your challenges, your progress to your boss in a proactive way. So they have the information they need to support you effectively without constantly having to chase you down for updates. All these things are crucial for building a strong, respected, professional reputation.
So, putting it all together, what does this all really mean? This whole deep dive seems to show us that earning respect and likability, it isn't about being bossy, but it's also not about being a pushover. It's more like a deliberate, consistent practice, a skill you actually cultivate.
That's absolutely right. Credibility isn't built overnight. It comes from a persistent commitment to these principles we've talked about, one habit at a time. It really is about consistently demonstrating integrity, competence, strong communication, and, crucially, genuine care for other people. And remember that liking gap research we mentioned?
Yeah.
People often underestimate how much others genuinely like them. Just kind of expecting to be liked can actually make you warmer, more natural in your interactions. It can create this positive, self-fulfilling prophecy sometimes.
And that's a really powerful takeaway, isn't it? If you embrace these habits, from active listening all the way to admitting your own mistakes, you don't just enhance your own reputation, you also contribute to a more positive, more productive environment for everyone around you. It truly is about becoming the kind of person you yourself would respect and like. We've covered a lot today, wow. From setting clear boundaries for your time to mastering that subtle art of making others feel genuinely important.
Which I guess raises an important question for you, the listener. If you could pick just one habit from today's deep dive to really try and implement this week, which one would it be? And how do you think starting that one habit might shift your interactions, even just a little bit?
Something to think about. Keep those thoughts churning. And thank you so much for joining us for another deep dive.